Hey guys, Rebecca here with That Organic Mom. Today I want to show you how to do a meal prep without recipes so that you can be empowered to get into your kitchen and cook nutritious meals for yourself and your family without burning up a bunch of your time and without having to continually refer back to a recipe. The thing is, you just have to learn to trust yourself, to know what tastes good to you and what your family will like. But today, I'm not going to show you how to cook specific entrees. I'm going to show you how to create meal components, sort of the building blocks of meals that you can mix and match and put together for the rest of the week so that you can have nutritious, delicious meals. I'm also going to share a secret about what makes meals truly special. And I'm going to put a few resources down in the description box below that are printables that you can tape to the inside of your cupboards, like I do with my pizza recipe as well as my rustic bread recipes. I just keep them right inside my cabinet door so it's quick reference and I don't have to keep looking at a cookbook or referring to a recipe on my phone. I'm gonna go sanitize my phone and I'm gonna put my hair up and grab my apron. Be right back. One of the dishes that I'm going to be preparing the components for is my Eat the Rainbow loaded sweet potatoes. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and preheat the oven, and I'm going to wash my sweet potatoes and get them in the oven so they can start roasting. You'll want to get the longer cooking things in the oven first. Now I'm planning to eat the skins of these sweet potatoes, so I'm going to give them a really good scrub with some soap that's made specifically for cleaning vegetables. I get this soap from Sea Witch Botanicals. And then I'm going to chop and prep a bunch of our vegetables. I'm going to cook them on a sheet pan. Now I could use olive oil for roasting my vegetable, but I've found that using melted ghee really brings out the flavor of vegetables. This might seem crazy that I'm using a radish to roast alongside of my vegetables, but roasted radishes taste a lot like potatoes. If you just want to try something new, or even if you're looking for kind of a low carb, something that tastes similar to potatoes, try roasting radishes. I want to get them to be about the same size, so with the really big radishes, I'm just going to cut those in half, and then the smaller ones I will leave them as they are. Okay, so as you can see, I have all of my vegetables chopped and ready to toss with ghee and pop them in the oven where the sweet potatoes are already roasting. They've been roasting for probably about 35 minutes now. Now, you don't have to use these particular vegetables. You can roast whatever types of vegetables that you like. And that's the magic of cooking without a recipe, is that you cook to your taste preferences. Now I'm gonna get these tossed with some melted ghee, put them on the pan, and pop them in the oven. Here's another quick tip. While you're roasting your sweet potatoes, you can have your ghee melting in a pot on top of the stove. You actually don't even need to turn on the stove eye. If you're cooking something inside the oven, it will melt just because the stove top is warm. Just gonna do a really quick check to see how my sweet potatoes are progressing. I do believe this one is done. That one could use a little bit longer, and I'm gonna flip this one over. And then I'm going to bring over all of my vegetables that are chopped, and I'm just going to fill in. This is a large rimmed sheet pan, and I really recommend having a couple of these in your kitchen, or else you could have a couple of half sheet pans. These are really handy. So, whoops, losing my carrots. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put these carrots. I'm gonna try, that's okay that that one fell off. My dog loves carrots. So any of those carrots that fall to the floor, she's going to grab them and eat them. No worries. So I'm gonna try to get those in there. As you cook, your hands do get used to touching hot things. Add in my Brussels sprouts. Now I noticed a couple of these Brussels sprouts are a little larger than I thought they were, so I'm going to cut these 3 in half. I'm just trying to color coordinate this. That's not necessary, but It just makes me feel happy. Again, with any big pieces like that, you're gonna wanna cut them in half. And I'm just gonna pop them on there. I want everything to be pretty much as possible in a single layer. It's gonna be great to mix and match all of these vegetables this week. And because the bell pepper cooks a little faster, I'm going to hold off on putting that in until I take off my sweet potatoes. Ghee really does elevate the flavor of vegetables, so I'm just going to drizzle this all over my roasted vegetables. So now I'm going to pop this in the oven. While my vegetables are roasting, I'm going to go ahead and let my rice cooker prepare my rice. But don't worry, if you don't have a rice cooker, you can buy pre-cooked rice, or you can cook your own in a pan. I've had this, it's made in Japan. I've had this rice cooker for nearly 2 decades, and I use it at least on a weekly basis, probably more. And it has settings for brown rice, white rice, sushi rice, porridge, mixed rice. But if you are an inexperienced cook, or even if you're a culinary pro, having a rice cooker just makes life so much easier, and it keeps the rice warm. So if you put rice in here and start cooking it in the morning, you can have warm rice at lunch and again at dinner. And even if you're not really into cooking, or if you're not a professional cook, or if you have very little experience with cooking, I highly recommend looking into getting a rice cooker. It just makes it so much easier. Once you add your rice to the rice cooker, you really don't have to think about it again. For your protein, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either cook all of your protein on your cooking day, or you can prepare the protein on the day you're going to eat the dish. There is absolutely nothing wrong with cooking all of your proteins in one day. If you have a George Foreman grill, that would be a great way to knock it all out at once, or you can cook it in a skillet on the stovetop. You could use an air fryer, an Instant Pot, and roast it in the oven.
Speaking of roasting, I am going to go ahead and get out some of my vegetables. You can see that my Brussels sprouts are getting a little brown, but they're going to cook a little bit longer. But I am going to get my last sweet potato out. It is now completely cooked all the way through. It's nice and soft inside, and that's just the way I need it to be. So I'm going to take that out now, and I'm going to add in my bell peppers, because now there's this empty space right here in the corner of my sheet pan, and bell peppers don't really take that long to roast, so I'm just going to pop them in for the last 10 to 12 minutes of my baking time. I told you I would share some techniques for making your meals really special, and that is what I'm going to do right now. I'm putting some vinegar in this jar. I'm using coconut vinegar, but you can use any kind of vinegar you have on hand, whether it's apple cider vinegar, balsamic, or whatever. And then I'm going to thinly slice a purple onion or red onion into strips, and then after I get this sliced up, I'm going to put all of the onion into the jar. I'm going to add a little bit of water and a pinch of salt, and if you like, you can also add a little bit of sugar. Shake it up and store it in the fridge, and you have some quick pickles that taste amazing on top of your different dishes, like the bowls we're going to prepare with our meal components this week. You're going to love these.
Now I've got my meat cooking behind me. I've got my vegetables in the oven. I've got my rice going in my rice cooker. And I wanted to point out that I'm not going to go out of my way to really season my meat a lot. I'm just going to add some simple seasonings like salt, pepper, and maybe some fresh garlic, because I love fresh garlic. I'm going to do that right at the end.
And the next technique I want to share is making sauces. The first sauce is going to be a creamy Chipotle sauce. You can use yogurt like I am, or if you prefer, you can use mayo. This 2-ingredient sauce couldn't be easier. Now I have it ready to go into my squeeze container, and I'm going to use a funnel and this really handy spatula. I recommend keeping these in your kitchen. And putting the sauces into a squeeze bottle makes life a lot easier. I recommend keeping a few of these bad boys on hand. And first up, we are going to plate our rainbow loaded sweet potatoes. This is so simple. You just cut your roasted sweet potato in half and open it up like a taco. And then we're going to put our toppings on top of the sweet potato. I'm starting with some ground beef. Then I'm going to add some sweet corn and some beans. You can use any variety that you like. And I'm going to top this with some cheese. This is a shredded Monterey Jack with jalapenos. And then I'm going to add some extra jalapenos on top. My mom cans these, and so they are really delicious and fresh. And last of all, I'm going to add the creamy Chipotle sauce that we made earlier. And you don't have to have a squeeze bottle for this. You can just keep it in a jar if you like. And now I'm going to top it with my pickled onions because that really adds a crisp, fresh flavor. Doesn't this dish look amazing? You can use any type of potatoes. You can use sweet potatoes or Idaho potatoes or gold potatoes. Pardon me while I try a bite. I've been cooking all morning and I'm hungry. This is the perfect meal for kids because they can pick and choose which toppings they want to add to their loaded sweet potato. This also makes a fantastic lunch if you need to take something to work with you or if you pack a lunch for your significant other. You may notice that I use glass containers. I just prefer glass so that I don't have to worry about BPA, but you can use whatever containers you have on hand. You just want to make sure that you let this cool completely before putting the lid on and sticking it in the fridge. Now let me show you another sauce I really like, and for the base I use this absolutely delicious balsamic vinegar. I'm going to mix equal parts into this little jar and then I'm just going to shake it up. It's really simple to make. First I'm going to use maple syrup, and you don't need to wash your measuring cup in between. And then I'm going to add an equal part of the balsamic vinegar and coconut aminos, or you can use soy sauce or tamari, whichever you prefer. And last, I am going to use some extra virgin olive oil. Now all we need to do is add the lid, shake it up, and it's ready to use. I'm also going to label this so that I don't forget what is in the jar. The next sauce I'm going to make is a creamy honey mustard. I'm using some local honey, and all you need is a jar and a whisk. You can use plain yogurt or mayonnaise for making the creamy honey mustard. And I think I'm going to use mayonnaise in this since I used yogurt in my Chipotle sauce. So I'm just going to eyeball it. You really don't have to measure everything. You can taste as you go when you're cooking for yourself. So I am just going to add some of this whole grain mustard. And again, I'm just going to eyeball it when it comes to the honey. I'm just going to put in a little bit, and you can always add more. So start out on the lesser side of what you think you would like, taste it, and then add more if necessary. Now I'm just going to whisk this up, and it's pretty much ready to go ahead and put on fish, chicken, steak, vegetables, even sandwiches if you like. Now, if you like, you can add a bit of freshly cracked black pepper. We love black pepper in just about everything, so I'm going to add a little bit to this, whisk it up, and that's pretty much it. It's ready. You might want to label your jar. You can see here that I am using a jar that was previously used to hold KoRican Sauce, which is a recipe by Bill Kim, and I can link the cookbook review for that one down in the show notes so you can make a KoRican sauce too. Having sauces on hand is really going to make those meal components of the vegetables, the starch, and the meats taste really special. So I really encourage you to go ahead and try a few of these 3 to 4 ingredient sauce recipes. You really don't have to have exact measurements. You can just taste as you go, and I promise it's going to turn out great. This sauce is going to combine the saltiness of white miso along with the sweetness of this peach jam. And then I'm going to drizzle in a little toasted sesame oil for that smoky flavor and some coconut aminos. You can see I'm just eyeballing it. Now that it's blended, I'm going to put it in a jar and store it in my fridge. And keep in mind, just trust your taste buds. Taste this as you go, and if it needs a little bit more salty, add more miso. If it needs a little bit more sweet, add more peach jam. You get the idea. I'm going to taste test this on a little bite of carrot. It is amazing. No need to adjust. Another way to make your meals special is by preparing some garnishes in advance. I really like using thinly sliced green onions, and I had a bunch of these in the fridge getting a little wilty on the ends, so I'm going to slice them up and store them so that I can use them to top my meat and veggie bowls. You can also use diced pineapples and cherry tomatoes for a really tasty topping that adds a little bit of freshness to your already cooked meat and vegetable bowls. You'll want to let your food cool down a bit before you put it into storage containers and stick it in your fridge. That's because the warm food, if you stored it right away, it can lower the temperature of your refrigerator. So let your vegetables cool down a little bit before you put them in the fridge. And now I hope you can see why I said that you really don't need a recipe. You can cook the individual ingredients and kind of look at these as like building blocks. Add your rice, pasta, or potatoes to the bottom of the bowl, and then pile on your meat and vegetables, and then drizzle on some delicious sauces followed by your garnishes. And you have a tasty, delicious, nutritious meal that didn't take you a ton of time and you didn't have to follow a recipe. You can pull these out and use the different components to build a bowl. And adding meat in and starches, this would probably last a family of 4 for about a week. Here is a steak bowl that I created using just the ingredients here that you watched me prepare today.
I wanted to show you some pantry items that if you keep these types of foods in your pantry, it will make it much simpler to pull a meal together at the last minute. And also I wanted to point out that before I start a big meal cooking session, I always go ahead and get out a stack of dish towels. I'm not a paper towel user, so I will always get out some. I have a lot of kitchen towels, and I'll get out a stack of these just so that I have them handy. Fill up my sink with hot soapy water. Make sure that my dishwasher is empty. That just makes the whole process a lot faster and easier, because then I don't have to clean up a big mess at the end. I can kind of keep things tidy as I go. So for example, we're gonna have lentils. Lentils are great for stew, for side dishes, and even in salads. And you can get a variety of different lentils. Those are available at pretty much every supermarket. So those are very easy. Also, dried beans. Dried beans are very economical, and they are also not that hard to prepare. So if you have an Instant Pot, a crock pot, those are perfect for beans. And there's nothing wrong with using canned beans, especially when you're in a hurry or when you're super busy. So today I'm gonna have out a can of these northern beans. Another thing I like to keep on hand are a variety of tomatoes. You can get crushed tomatoes, strained tomatoes. I really like this brand in the glass jars. And then we have rice. I feed my family a lot of brown rice, so I have this. I buy it in bulk at the Asian supermarket, and then I just decant it into these glass containers. Also, I have this bag of wild rice. We're going to use that in today's meal component. I always keep a variety of potatoes. So there's sweet potatoes. You can use gold potatoes, regular Idaho potatoes, but having some potatoes on hand also makes it really simple and quick to pull a meal together. And then you're going to want to have a variety of onions. Onions make everything taste better. So you want to have onions and garlic. And then just quickly, a couple of other things that I pulled out of my pantry today. One is green chilies. Green chilies can kind of elevate your meals, like if you're doing burritos or tacos or chili, having some green chilies on hand, that is going to help to really give your meals a little more flavor. Wild caught canned salmon. And so I really do prefer to use fresh salmon as much as possible, but it doesn't hurt to have some canned salmon in your pantry so that you can make salmon cakes or salmon spread. And last of all, a can of chipotle peppers and adobo sauce, or you can get dried chipotle chilies and then rehydrate those. So either way, but these are just a few of the items that I keep on hand that make meal prep easier.